In part 3 in our series on friendship, on true friends is what we call it, Clint dove into biblical examples from the book of Acts and Galatians, lots of Bible, that address how the tension around our values and beliefs can be managed or even resolved, and also the importance of recognizing and valuing both our differences and then the commonalities that bond us. Great job, Clint.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And this is this is a really, really important part to talk about when we talk about friendships, because conflict will, come between us if we let it. So I really like, and there's so much there as well. There's so much example from the first church. So I want to especially pause at the story that you told of Chelsea, who we love, who has, because I do think it's all about proximity, and I wrote this down. I would love for you maybe to elaborate a little bit more on what Chelsea, how she approaches those conversations with police officers. Maybe there's some specific steps or whatever that she uses to facilitate understanding, if you know. But I also want to ask you, do you have any personal experiences with kind of increasing, or is it decreasing the space, or increasing proximity? Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
With people that are not like you?
Yeah, just going directly at the differences, I think. And that's what I've learned from Chelsea. She does this so well. When there is tension in a relationship or conflict, even if it's not caused directly by you guys, like in this case, it's the media is painting these pictures. And so with Chelsea and let's just say a police officer in our congregation, instead of ignoring or acting like that's not there and letting that kind of continue to separate that, relationship, she just goes right at it and says, hey, what do you think? What are your thoughts about what's going on? And she takes that risk of, like, you might say something that's going to hurt me, because you might have an opinion that I don't agree with, or that's personal to me and it's an offense to me. And so I've gotten a front row seat of watching her have some of those conversations, and they're so beautiful because she does it with so much humility. And she also doesn't just, listen. She does share where she's coming from. She does share her how this affects her and impacts her. And so I've gotten to learn from her. My own personal journey with that, I've had a lot of times in life where I've probably gotten that wrong more than I've gotten it right. I remember early on in 2020, I think it was, maybe 2021, when I first started hearing the phrase white male being thrown around a lot. And I'm like, wait, I'm a white male. And usually that term was used to describe some hurt that was done to other people. And I would go, well, I would find myself getting immediately defensive, because I'm like, I didn't do that. I wasn't part of that. And that doesn't describe me or the people I know. And I had to have several friends that were really close to me kind of look me in the face and say, no, I know you might not have done that like specific thing, but you're a part of what's going on here, and you need to take responsibility and ownership, and you need to learn these other perspectives. And so that launched a 3-year journey of me being like, I need to do way less talking and way more listening to people that are different than me, if I'm ever going to have relationship that's really honest and true with people that are not like me.
Is it because we're so steeped in this need to convert other people to our way of thinking, and like then that defensiveness? I recognize that as well.
Yeah.
To just, I find that I need to be in a really good space to not feel. I love what you said, but like, don't feel like that you need to be defensive, or they're going to say something that may offend you.
Yeah.
And don't let that get in the way of you, having a relationship with somebody not like you.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear any kind of feedback, but when it's that personal and it's tied to you that closely, it's really, really hard to receive. And I think too, a lot of times it comes with like changes that need to happen. And so in order to really hear someone, sometimes we have to like change something that we do, or that we're doing, or something that we're saying, or language we're using. And that nobody likes doing that. That's an uncomfortable thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it's just easier to sometimes reject it, or say, that's not true, or that's not like me. And the problem with that is, again, it distances yourself from that person. And it's like, okay, well, you might just, if you're going to choose that over the relationship, then the relationship must not have been worth it, or it's just not going to last.
Wow. You talked also about, some of the ways that we've, in the last couple of years, that we've really walked slowly through our values and our beliefs as a church, and how do we better follow what Jesus said and what he did. You talked about sharing your advantage or being inclusive, especially with people not like you. How do you feel that we at Cornerstone could be doing this better? Or are there some things that you wish you could change about how we're doing it? Are we doing okay?
No, I mean, I think we're doing a good job in addressing these things that are uncomfortable and trying to create some language around them that everyone can start these conversations on their own. And so I love that. I love the values and that they're addressing the real problems that are happening in our culture, and we're looking at the scriptures to find wisdom and the Holy Spirit. The only thing I would say is sometimes we don't get it perfect. Sometimes, like I said at the very end, there is almost a need for like division, like where we can't agree on something, and that does actually cause a separation. And I don't think that's God's will, but I think that's just a part of this whole process. Sometimes like we can't agree on it, and it causes us to lose fellowship with someone. But I would just continue to say to everyone, like, we have to value people more than problems. We have to value a person, and we have to try our best to find those things that we have in common. Even in those conflicts, like, well, we still love Jesus. We still are doing our best. You know, we might not agree here, but like, I'm still going to give you the benefit of the doubt and try my best to love you. And oftentimes that will see us through some of those conflicts and still keep the relationship.
I'm here for that. I really hope we can keep going that way.
Me too.
And not just say, if it's not my way, I can't be with you. That'd be crazy. One last question: how do you, really based on what does love require? One of our values, asking that at all points. How do you suggest you deal with conflicts when the other party is really not open to understanding or dialogue? What would you do when that happens?
Like they're not wanting to talk with you about it?
Yeah, they don't want to understand.
Well, I mean, that's probably one of those situations where it's like the relationship might not be repairable in that moment, right? Or in that season. And so we can always forgive someone. Forgiveness takes one. It's the reconciliation that you're talking about that takes two. So there has to be both sides that are willing to participate in the reconciliation process. So if there's only one side happening, we can still choose forgiveness. Now that's a process in and of itself. Something, it's not a one-time decision, but that's a whole nother sermon. But yeah, we can still choose forgiveness and not to harbor anger and rage and bitterness towards that person, and to kind of release them from the pain that they're maybe caused us. And then when they're ready and their timing, maybe we try for that reconciliation. But sometimes that does take time, especially if there's like physical harm or abuse happen. Like that's a big deal too. We can't just keep trying to reconcile when that's happening. That's
really good. That's really wise. And I love how the scriptures address this so head on. Thank you so much for bringing that today. And here at Cornerstone, we're also doing our best to grow closer and closer together and reach further and further into the world around us. And I hope that you will join us in that. I hope to see you online this week, and I hope to see you next time. God bless you.